Okay guys, last thing I want to cover with you in your percent chapter, I want to take a look at the single trade discount. So this is, what we're going to cover here is how to approach if, say, you're at a store and something is full price, let's call it $45. Sorry, that's a horrible 4 there. Let's call it $45, and something is, say, 25% off. In this section, we're going to take a look at how we figure out what is 20% or 25% of that price so we know exactly what to take off. So really it's going to kind of correspond with what we did in the using proportions to solve for percent questions. As our first step, if we have the full price of an item is $45, so here's our full price, is this price right here, $45. And today, there's a big sign that says it's 25% off today. There's a big sale going on, so that's awesome. We need to figure out, well then how much am I going to end up paying for this item? So our first step is really to figure out, well then what is 25% of this particular price? Because if the sale is 25% off across the entire store, that applies to things that are $45, $20, $6, $80, doesn't matter what the price is, the percentage has to be the percent of that particular price. So what we have to first ask ourselves is this famous question that we've seen before: what is 25% of 45? And hopefully that looks pretty familiar to you guys as we're asking ourselves this question, and then we can go back to using our proportions to solve for that. As remember, we can solve that by saying, well, 25 out of 100, as that's our percent. It's asking us for the is, so here's our question. So our is going to be our x, and then it says of 45. So we can set it up exactly that way, the way that we've done before. We take 25 times 45, and then take that and divide by 100, and that tells us that 25% of $45 is $11.25. Now that's not the end price that we're going to pay, that's the amount of the discount. That's how much we get to take off. Remember, it's 25% off. That's the key word. So this is the amount that we get to take off. So the second step to that would then be to take our full price of $45 and subtract that discounted price. And then we'll see what we end up paying as our discounted price. So 45 minus 11.25 is going to be 33.75. So this is my end price. And that will apply for anything that's on sale today. So anything like in the store, if something is, let's say, I don't know, we'll look for something that's a little bit cheaper. So say I find something that's only $30 instead. So something full price is $30, but again, today the whole store is 25% off. So once again, we can ask ourselves that question: what is 25% of 30? So yes, you can set that up the way that we know how. 25 of 100, or 25 out of 100 is our percent, and then we're trying to find x out of, this time the full price is $30, so we approach it the same way. 25 times 30 is 750, and then divided by 100, that means our discounted price is $7.50. So that's what we get to take off. So we take $30 minus $7.50, so $30 minus $7.50, so remember $30, you don't have to do all that, but again, just subtracting that, you could just use your calculator too. That would be $22.50. Now, one thing I want to mention before moving on, a lot of you guys are thinking, well, that's not how I usually do that in the store, and that's okay, because I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys in the first video. You don't have to use this proportion setup if you don't want to. What I mean by that is anytime you're trying to find the, oops, I meant to do this. Anytime you're trying to find the is, so anytime your x is in this is spot, you can always, instead of doing all the stuff that we did there, you can instead, let me remove this, anytime, so I'm going back to the exact same problem. So something was $30, and again, remember today it's 25% off. So then what we can do instead, if the proportion setup is exactly correct. So if you're used to doing that, you just want to stick with that proportion setup, by all means, just stick with that. But you could instead just take that 30, that full price, and you could, if you wanted to, just multiply by the decimal of our percent. We know 25% as a decimal is 0.25. If you took 30 times 0.25 in your calculator, you'll notice that you'll get the exact same percent discount that we got earlier, the $7.50. So that's just kind of a quicker way to do it if you'd rather remember that. The only reason I showed you guys the proportions in the first video was to show you that it's the same formula whether you're looking for the is, the of, or the percent. If you remember our formula for that, just getting that out of the way here. Our formula for that said percent over 100 is equal to is over of. And in a lot of those questions we were looking at, in some cases we were looking for the percent, in some cases we were looking for the is, and in some questions we were looking for the of. So using that proportion formula really helps us to solve any of those. So, but in all of these percent discount questions, you will always be trying to find the is. And anytime you have a question where you're trying to find what is so much percent of a number, so anytime you're trying to find the what is, then you can always do it a lot quicker by just multiplying by the decimal. So that is totally up to you on what you want to do with that. So if I have the full price of an item is, let's say, $86.50. So $86.50. And let's say today it is 60% off. Oh, I don't know why I wrote that little dollar sign there. Sorry guys, brain fart. Today it's 60% off. So big sale going on today. So what I'm going to do, you could do either or. Again, like I said, this is a either or. You don't have to do both. You could either A, take 86.50 and multiply it by 0.6, as that's going to be 60%. Same thing as 0.60. So 0.6, and then that would help us to see what that is, what that 60% is. So that would mean, again, if you just take that, it'd be 86.5 times 0.6, and that gives you 51.90. And you would get the same answer had you have approached it the other way if you instead decided to take, and think about it as what is 60% of 86.50. So this is your or. You could have said 60 over 100 is equal to x over 86.5. And you'd get the same thing because 86.5 times 60 is 5,190, then divided by 100 is 51.90. So again, you're seeing the same result. You'd still get the same $51.90. But don't forget, that's not it. This number, this 51.90, remember, is only the amount of your discount. That's how much you get to take off. So that has to be subtracted from the original price. So the next step would be to take 86.50 and subtract our discount of 51.90 and 86.50, yep, 86.50 minus 51.90 gives you $34.60. So 60% off, again, that's more than half. So, here's your original price. This is the amount that you end up paying. So that's how those questions will be asked of you. You want to know, what is the end price? So that's what we're looking for. I typically won't ask for the amount of the discount, so I am asking for just that end result. So some people, so now I'm going to throw you guys off a lot. Another way to approach this is if you have, just kind of FYI, you don't have to do this. A lot of times people like to see the amount of the discount, so how much they get to take off. I want you guys to think about something for a minute. So if $86.50 is our full price of an item, that means that is our 100% price. So if I was going to pay 100% of this price, it would be $86.50. So let's think about, I'm trying to think of how we write this out. So if this is 100% on a line, then we know that if it's 60% off, so let's draw, here's the imaginary halfway point here. 60% would be here. So here to here is 60%. So that means I'm left to pay this portion. Well, let's think. 100% minus 60% means that I'm left to pay this portion. I'm left to pay 40% of the price. So sometimes if you want to approach it kind of a quicker way, you could just say, okay, well, if it's $86.50 and it's 60% off, then therefore I'm left to pay 40%. So you could instead ask yourself, well, what is 40% of $86.50? And that will take you straight to that price. So that's just kind of this is just kind of an FYI. If you want to use it, you don't have to, but if you did take $86.50 and multiplied it by 0.4, or again, the alternative would be to think about it as 40% of $86.50. Both of these will take you, 86.5 times 0.4 will take you straight to that discounted price of $34.60. And so if you're looking to go straight to that answer without having to think of subtracting the amount of your discount, if you're only thinking of the percentage that you're supposed to pay, that would be then 40%. So again, looking at just a different example, completely different example. Let's say the full price of an item is, let's say, $200. And let's say that our item is, let's say, well, I don't want to use 40. Let's say 30% off. So it's 30% off today. So we can approach this in a number of different ways. One, so here's our, first option. One, you could ask yourself, well, what is 30% of 200? Because that means we're trying to find, the amount that I'm getting to take off because it's 30% off. So again, that can be done two ways as well. You can take 200 times 0.3, or you can take, again, look at it as 30% of 200. Both of these will tell you what 30% is. So of 200, 200 times 0.3, both of these will tell you that X is equal to $60. But again, you would have a second step where you have to then remove that from the price. Your last step would be to take 200 minus 60 to figure out that the end price is $140. So that's one way to approach it. You could say, okay, well, because again, the question is asking you, if something is 30% off that's originally $200, I want to know what I end up paying for this item, and the answer would be this, would be $140. The alternative method would be, so step 2 would be to think, okay, well, 100% of the price is $200. That's 100%. If I am going to take away, because it's 30% off, and if I'm going to take away 30%, that means I'm left to pay 70% of the total. So that means I just want to ask myself, well, what is 70% of 200? So what is 70% of 200? And that will take me straight to that discounted price. Again, looking at it alternative ways, I could take 200 times 0.7, or I could again ask it as 70 out of 100 is equal to X over 200, and both of these will take you straight to your $140, to that answer. So again, there's really like 4 different ways to approach these types of questions, but it's whichever method is easiest for you. Again, some people like this method over here because they like to see how much they get to take off. It makes it more satisfying to know that I'm saving $60, so that seems cool. I like to do that. And some people like to do it a little bit quicker and like to go straight to that discounted price, as that's what I'm looking for, so that would be kind of the faster way to do it. But you do have to, at the beginning, think, okay, well, 30% off means 100 minus 30. Okay, I need to find 70%. So that's just an alternate way to figure those out. But that's what you will be looking for. I know in the text it says to find the amount of the discount and the price. I will only ask for the price, so that's why for those of you guys that are using the second method, that's okay, that you can just go straight to that discounted price, and that will work too. All right, guys, so that's percent discount. I hope that helps with those. There's lots of practice problems in your book, and then those homework questions you will see are very similar to that. So I hope those help. If you have any questions, let me know.